Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a Tinder nightmare story. Yesterday I went on a bit of a rant in regards to Tinder and Snapchat, so that kind of brought a few memories back, and I thought, got quite a few horrendous Tinder stories, so I might as well share them. Everyone's got them, might as well talk about it. So if you like the sound of this video, then stay tuned, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Leave me any comments as well. If you've got horrific Tinder stories on your channel, give me a shout and let me know, because I literally am obsessed with watching them. So my Tinder story, like I said yesterday, I've probably not been on Tinder for about 2 years. So this story goes back, I would probably say, I want to say it's about 4 years. I could check the dates on Google, but hey ho. So basically, this is around about the time I was living in Manchester City Centre in an apartment with one of my mates, and the Rugby World Cup was on. Never really been into rugby, so it didn't particularly mean anything to me, but that's what was happening. So it was around about, I want to say it was just before Christmas time as well. It was probably October, November-ish. So I'm swiping through Tinder and I randomly get chatting to this guy. I'm going to change his name in the video because he's a very, very well-known rugby player. So we will change his name to Tim. So I get chatting to Tim and we're chatting probably for about 2 or 3 weeks on Tinder. He's 25, I was probably 27 at the time. He's lovely, he's just absolutely beautiful looking. He's from New Zealand, but he plays rugby. I'm going to have to be really careful with what I say so that I don't give this away too much. So he's got a beautiful, beautiful New Zealand accent. He is tall, I think he's 6'7", really dark hair, just amazing, beautiful, such a nice guy. We were messaging backwards and forwards probably for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I was trying to scope him out. So I added him on Facebook, I had him on, he didn't have an Instagram, that's a lie, I had him on Twitter. And obviously, before I go on a date with anyone from online situations, I am going to stalk that person. So I literally stalked all of his social media profiles. He added me on all of them, which obviously is a good sign because that, means that they don't really have anything to hide. So that happened. As I say, he was absolutely lovely, and we were trying to plan a date. We never quite got round to it. So I was out with friends in Manchester, with my flatmate and a couple of other friends, and he texted me, and at this point we were texting all day, every day, pretty much constantly, all night and things like that, staying up till 4 in the morning texting him. So he's like, oh, we're at this bar in the Printworks, which is an area of Manchester with loads of bars and stuff. Come down, I'm with all my teammates, we're having a few drinks and stuff, it's really cool. So me and my friends finish off our drinks in the bar that we're in, all piled down there. Obviously we're pretty drunk by this point. Pile down there, and it's him and about 15 to 20 teammates and management people and all kinds of, people that were to do with the rugby scene. They've got the VIP area upstairs of the bar that we're in, and it's all very nice, and we're getting free drinks and we're all having a dance, and it was such a good night. So then the night comes to an end. It's probably about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by this point, and he's like, we're all going to go back to our hotel, and they're staying in, I can't think what the hotel was called now, one of the big hotels in Manchester, really, really exclusive. So they're staying there, and they're like, come back there with us, we're going to have a party, we're going to have an after party. So we were like, oh no, we're going to go back to our apartment, like with the girls and stuff, we're going to carry on drinking, play some drinking games or whatever. And he's like, okay, cool, I'll just come with you. So he comes with us, the rest of his teammates all go back to the hotel, and they're all absolutely lovely, by the way, getting us drinks, getting involved, just really, really nice lads. So he gets back to our apartment, excuse me, he gets back to our apartment in Manchester, and there's about four or five of us and this guy, Tim. So Tim is drinking JD and Coke to the extreme. He didn't have a rugby match the day after, so it was okay. I think he was playing like 2 days later. So we are sat in my living room in the apartment playing drinking games, card games and stuff, and it's all really good. He's getting on with my mates really love him. I think they were a little bit starstruck, but it was all good. So then he's like, I'm going to go out on your balcony for a cigarette if that's okay. So I was like, yeah, cool. So he goes on the balcony for a cigarette, and the lounge has 2 big glass sliding doors sort of at the side. So I'm watching him through the window because I'm a pervert. So I'm watching him through the window, and the next thing, he unfastens his pants and starts taking a pee off my balcony. And I'm like, oh my God, can you actually see what he's doing? He's weeing off the balcony, and we're like 2 floors up as well. So if somebody's walking past, below, they're gonna get sprinkled on. So the girls are like, oh my God, quick, get him in, stop him. So we get him in. He's pretty wasted by this point. Pull his pants up, cover him up, get him into the bathroom. And I'm like, this is the bathroom. If you need the toilet, that's where you have to go. And he's like, I'm sorry. So he goes into the bathroom. Then, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes go by, and I'm like, where's Tim? So I go into the bathroom. He's not in the bathroom. he has gone into my friend's bedroom and passed out on her bed. So I'm like, you're gonna have to come and help me. Like, this is a 6'7" guy who probably weighs close to 20 stone. I don't know. He's heavy. He's a big guy. We need to get him off the bed. So my friend's like, well, he can't stay on my bed. I obviously want to go to bed. So I'm like, we'll put him in my bed. I will sleep on the couch. It's completely fine. It takes 3 girls to pick this giant man up from her bed, drag him down the hallway, which is probably, you know, the doors are about this far apart. Get him into my room. We throw him on the bed and he's just unconscious. Just passes out. That's pretty much it. So that was the end of that night. We carried on drinking for a few hours and he got up the next day. Everything was normal. You know, he apologised for being so drunk and off he went. So I'm thinking, right, that's probably it. Like, we're probably not going to be meeting up again and stuff, you know, it was a bit weird. But then the next day, he's still texting me all day. He's like, let's go to Old Trafford, let's go and watch the United match. So we went out the next day, went to watch United, and that was that. Like, everything sort of went back to normal then. So the weeks went on, and I would say I'm dating this guy. I'm probably seeing him 3 or 4 times a week. At this point, and it's probably been going on for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks. I'm not entirely sure. I know that the Rugby World Cup was on for about a month and a bit, so yeah, something like that. So anyway, so I'm dating this guy, we're going out, we're going into Manchester, nobody recognises him when we're out in the street or anything, so that's good. And things were just great. Obviously, in my head, I'm thinking he's going back to New Zealand or Australia, so it's not going to go anywhere, you know, we're just having fun for however long it is that he's here. So yeah, like I say, all's good. And then it's obviously the Rugby World Cup final. So that happens and it's being played at Old Trafford in Manchester. So he's like, bring your friends, I'll get you tickets, like come watch the final match, it's gonna be amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is great. This guy is just so nice. So he gets me, I think there was 5 of us again, 5 tickets. We go to Old Trafford and we're watching the Rugby World Cup, which they actually won. So when we're sitting there, we're all sat there, you know, wrapped up because it's kind of like winter. And there's this blonde girl sat, I'll say 2 people down from me to the left-hand side. And she's staring at us and we're all drinking and obviously having a good time and talking about Tim, you know, and things that we've been doing with Tim. And she's like leaning around the seat, staring at me like this and like looking me up and down. You know, like girls do when you're on a night out. And it was just really uncomfortable. And I'm like, who on earth is this girl? Like, it just didn't feel quite right. So she glared at me the entire time we were there. And then after the match had finished, Tim was on his way over to us. And then he glances to the left and he sees this girl who's obviously sat there and he waves at her and then carries on with the teammates into the little tunnel and into the changing rooms. But we weren't meeting up afterwards because they all go and do this like rerun of the match and stuff, and obviously they're celebrating because they've just won the Rugby World Cup and, you know, it's so exciting and blah, blah, blah. So we all went out into Manchester, me and the girls, got some food and stuff, and he's texting me and he's like, you know, my flight leaves tomorrow, like I'd really like to see you before I go, but I don't think I'm going to have time. Thanks for coming to the match. It was really great to see you, you know, and I'll talk to you soon. So I was like, okay. So me and the girls were obviously sat in this restaurant in Manchester, this bar, and someone says, you know, who was that girl? Why was she glaring at us? I googled him, and as naive as it sounds, I had googled certain things when I first met him. Obviously, I wanted to check that he did play rugby, that he wasn't having me on, that he did play for this team, you know, that he had played for these other teams in the past and things. And I was just looking at things like that and where he'd lived and, you know, general background information. There was nothing on there about him having a girlfriend. There was nothing on there at all about his family or anything like that. Although his family were on his Facebook page, so realistically something could have come up on Facebook, but you know, it just didn't happen at the time. So we are sat googling Tim and we find that he has an Australian girlfriend who is very, very well known in Australia. Again, I'll change her name to Michelle. So Michelle and Tim have probably been together for about 3 years. She has just had a baby at the time as well, who was probably about 5 or 6 months old. Obviously none of this information was, you know, given to me prior. So it turns out that the girl that was sat 2 seats down from us at the rugby match is actually Tim's girlfriend, and they're engaged. And when he was in England playing these rugby matches, obviously the matches were all over the place. So some weekends he'd be in Wales, another weekend he'd be down in London. There was pictures on Google of him outside Buckingham Palace. So him, the fiance, and the baby, who PS is in the country, have all gone out for the day to Buckingham Palace and had their photos taken outside the palace gates, while I'm back in Manchester waiting for him to come back so that we can go out that evening for a meal. I mean, there's fuckboys and then there's fuckboys. If you're a really well-known celebrity and you're in a different country, you do not A, go on Tinder, and B, take a girl out for dates in public where anybody could have seen you. The thing that really annoys me about this whole situation is they're clearly all the same. This is kind of what they probably do when they go to all these different countries and they're on Tinder and they're meeting girls. Bear in mind, some of these guys are probably married and stuff as well, so that just makes it worse. And then what happened? So I never said a word to him. I didn't tell him that I knew he had a fiance or that he had a baby. I think normally I would be like straight on the phone, going absolutely mad. But I didn't have it in me. I was so shocked. I felt like I'd wasted a month and a half. I mean, I was wasting a month and a half anyway. I was having fun. It's not like I thought we were going to get into a relationship, because I didn't, because I knew he was going back to Australia. But I felt like I'd wasted all this time, spending time with him, getting to know him, and obviously really liking this guy, when he had a fiance and a new baby. Who even does that? So he obviously, I think it was the next day, a couple of days later, went back to Australia, and that was it. I literally never heard from him again, as weird as that sounds. And then I didn't Google it, I didn't look into it, I didn't try and find out any information about what was happening with his life once he'd obviously returned home. And then a couple of years ago, I'd seen on the news, something came up on Facebook actually, and it was one of those funny videos. I think it was from the Lad Bible or somewhere like that. And it was him mouthing off at somebody during a rugby match and them knocking him to the ground. So I obviously shared that between all my friends. Everyone thought it was hilarious. And then as I was on Google, or I was online doing something, and this story came up that Tim had injured his back in a rugby match and was having an operation and wasn't able to play. You know, it could have damaged his career. He might not have ever played rugby again. So I did do the, you know, sitting on Google for maybe about 20-30 minutes or something like that, just to obviously find out what had happened. And it turns out that, like, I think he is playing rugby again now. I haven't actually looked at it recently because I'm not interested anymore. But it was just hilarious, and all my friends were so jealous, and they were like, oh my God, I can't believe that you're dating this guy, and, you know, and he's so good looking, and he's so well known, and he plays rugby. But now looking back on it, he was the biggest fuckboy that I've ever met in my life. And it's funny because, did she know who we were? Like, she must have had an idea that we were talking about him, and we were telling stories about things that had happened while he'd been in Manchester and while he'd been at my apartment. So she obviously could hear, I'm assuming she could hear us. And it'd be interesting to find out what happened when they went home to Australia. But like I said, I haven't Googled it and I haven't looked into it anymore because it pisses me off. If I'm honest, it pisses me off. And I just think, at the same time, I don't want to start family drama. This girl had just had a baby at the time, and, you know, and I was the side chick, I suppose. But surely at the same time, he should have been punished for what he'd done. Like, you can't think that that's okay, that you can just treat girls like that, or boys, you know, if it was the other way around. It's just not on. Yeah, and then I think I stayed off Tinder after that happened. I probably did stay off Tinder for a couple of months before some of my other random Tinder stories happened. But yeah, the moral of the story is, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And don't trust everything that you read online, because there was a lot of things that I was reading online and things that he was telling me that I thought, oh my gosh, you know, he's the perfect guy and things like that. And he wasn't. He was just a fuckboy. So yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my Tinder nightmare story. If you guys have any Tinder nightmare stories that you want to share, stick them in the comments box below and I'll check them out. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button for my next video. When I'm thinking about it now, I do have quite a few horrific Tinder stories, so this might be something that I do once every couple of weeks or something. So again, give me a shout in the comments and let me know if that's the kind of thing that you like to watch. I will not be disclosing his name. You guys can obviously go online and, you know, do your detective skills and try and figure out who it is. And drop me a comment below and let me know who you think it is. So I've given you a few clues in this video, like I say, but I'm not going to disclose names because, you know, it's not cool to kiss and tell, really, is it? So yeah, I will leave you with that one. You guys go do your investigate and see if you can figure out who it is, and leave me a comment and let me know, and see you in my next video.